Now, more from Krishnan and his crew up there in Nottingham in a moment, but first, at 7:29, a quick summary of the main budget measures. The Chancellor dubbed this a budget for an aspiration nation, but he had to announce a halving of the growth forecast for this year to just 0.6%. Moves designed to boost growth include a cut in employers' national insurance, a drop in corporation tax and help for home buyers. He cut beer duty with a penny off a pint come Sunday and scrapped September's fuel duty increase.
It is taking longer than anyone hoped, but we must hold to the right track. And by setting free the aspirations of this nation, we will get there.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, more of the same is not the answer to the problems of the last 3 years. More of the same is the answer of a downgraded Chancellor in a downgraded government. Britain deserves better than this.
Welcome back to Arnold in Nottingham, where we're at the Longbow pub with a group of people who all have different views of the budget. Now, one of the more eye-catching announcements was cutting duty on a pint of beer by a penny and ending the beer duty escalator. Well, James Garfoot runs the pub, which is an independent, and is with me now. Now, the Chancellor said he expects pubs to pass this tax cut on Sunday. Are you going to be able to do that?
I'll find that very difficult to pass
Why?
that cut on Sunday, due to the fact that wholesale beer prices have increased year on year.
So you're likely to have to put them up?
Yeah, exactly.
You see, George Osborne said he was doing this in part because so many independent pubs were going out of business. Will this make much of a difference to your business?
Not at all, no. I'll still be in the same position this time next year.
Because your wholesale prices will go up again?
Exactly, yeah.
Well, Geraldine is also still with me, and you have a... I mean, you're not a big fan of this particular move, are you? Why is that?
Not at all. I think for a government that's all about austerity, this is a massive waste of money. It's 1 pence on a pint. So you take a guy that drinks 10 pints a week, it's worth £5.20 to him a year. It's nothing. Nobody will care about that. But to the government, that's a huge sum of money that they could actually be putting into something much more worthwhile. All
right, well, thank you for now. George Osborne said the budget's all about those who want to do better and are working hard to achieve more. But what about people who are doing just that but still have to watch every penny? Was there really anything in the budget for them? Jackie Long has been here in Nottingham to find out.
7:30 a.m. on Budget Day. Single mother Jerry Carnell already knows the one thing she's hoping to see from the Chancellor she won't get. His big childcare giveaway announced yesterday will see families able to claim around £1,200 a year per child to offset the cost of care. But because she gets tax credits, she won't be eligible for it until at least 2016.
That's really, really frustrating. There are things I feel that they could be doing now to help parents, specifically things like the 15 hours of free childcare. They should be offering that to 2-year-olds. They offer it already to 2-year-olds from really low-income families, but I don't qualify.
So in a way, you earn too much to get the free childcare.
Yeah, and not enough.
Not enough, essentially.
Yeah,
to benefit from yesterday's announcement.
Absolutely.
At 12:30, we'll then sit and watch the budget.
That sense of being squeezed is the overwhelming message from these women, brought together in a local branch of Asda, part of the so-called Mumdex survey, charting how families are coping in the downturn. Before the budget begins, the mood is decidedly downbeat.
And sometimes when I lie awake at night and think how easily it could all come tumbling down.
Prices of everything are going up, but my wage hasn't increased.
What you're actually taking home each week is not as much as it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
This is a budget for people who aspire to work hard and get on.
As he speaks, it's clear he's winning many of them round, even public sector workers who'll be hit by a continued pay freeze. And it seems it's as much about their low expectations and his carefully chosen language than what the budget actually offers them.
It is a budget for our aspiration nation.
I like the idea that they are supporting people who are trying to help themselves. I appreciate that unemployment isn't necessarily that individual's fault and it can be very difficult, but it always seems to be the people that aspire or that have worked hard in the past are the ones that get forgotten. So for me, this budget felt like it was speaking to me.
Janet, NHS worker, doesn't look like your pay's going in the right direction, does it?
No, I wasn't expecting a pay rise, actually. I'd like one, but the way the things are now, I didn't think that would be, you know, in the making.
There was no talk of skivers versus strivers today, but the Chancellor's message was pretty similar. This was a budget for people who aspire to work hard and get on. And it's played pretty well with many of the people we've been speaking to, even those who are not substantially better off as a result. But what about those who aspire to work but can't find any work to do? What was in it for them? Angela Perkis takes her seat in Arnold Library. She spends hours a day here, not least because it saves on heating her home, a home she may lose if she doesn't get a job soon.
It's something that is part of the demoralising part of being unemployed, where everything is outside of your control. I will do the best that I can. I will continue to do the best I can. I've done that, and I think I've demonstrated that I'm strong enough to weather some storms. But I think there comes a point when, if we don't get the assistance, many of us will find that we're back homeless, or in a position where the government has to find social housing for us. And is that what they want to do?
For Angela, earning enough to benefit from the increase in the personal tax allowance today is something she can only aspire to. Jackie Long, Channel 4 News, Arnold.
So we have a cross-section of people from all parts of society here in and around Nottingham and Arnold, and you'll recognise some of them who we heard from before. Faisal, let me start with you. Do you feel part of George Osborne's aspiration nation? How hopeful are you?
To be honest with you, the future doesn't look very promising to me, because for me, like George Osborne, he claims the budget is for people who aspire to work hard and get on. I do that. I do the same. I do work hard. I apply for jobs. I'm currently working, but I'm not finding the right career role that I'm looking for. So, and also, I'm not really impressed with what is happening, because there's no new investment coming into the country.
Well, we'll come on to the measures in a moment. Angela, I mean, were you impressed by the language at all? Because some people clearly were.
Absolutely not. I don't know whether or not he lives in a world that he's created for us, but he doesn't actually live in it. Because the job centre that he was talking about, that actually is supposed to be assisting people like me who are looking for employment, are there purely and simply to impose sanctions on those people who don't do the things that the job centre have told them to do.
It's a popular view, but they're not here to defend themselves. But let me come over to someone who I think has a different view here. Craig, I mean, you're an entrepreneur in the area.
I am indeed.
Do you feel part of George Osborne's aspiration nation?
No, I've not heard anything today that really inspires me, or you know. But I suppose what I have to do as an entrepreneur is stay positive, create jobs, and I think in Nottingham what we've done recently, and the best thing, if I've got a message for Danny Alexander, is to devolve central government money to local decision makers, businesses and councillors, to actually, because they know what's going on the ground.
All right. Sarah, what would you say to Craig? I mean, he should be pleased about the national insurance move, shouldn't he, as an employer?
£2,000 for the whole
So
organisation.
you don't think that's going to benefit you?
£2,000 for the whole organisation.
Yeah. Well, it's a start, that's all we can say. I mean, I see this turning around from the recession as a very large oil tanker that's got to turn around very slowly. I believe it is, and I can see it is turning around slowly. And we are in that process. But we are going in the right direction. And come about 2017, I think you'll see dramatic changes from then.
I hope so. Yeah.
Jamie, what's your take on what happened today? I mean, who did you agree with when you heard George Osborne and Ed Balls?
I'm inclined to agree with George Osborne a bit, because you know, I feel his hands are tied. It is difficult to say what he should do, and like you say, it's a slow process to get out of a recession. My personal worry as a college student is youth unemployment. I mean, it's over 20% for 16 to 24-year-olds, and that's the big worry for me.
But you're still sympathetic with the Chancellor. Well, that's interesting. Let me come over here and talk to another group of people. Now, Peter, you've been in and out of work in recent years. I mean, how hopeful do you feel? And who did you warm to today when you heard the arguments?
No, I didn't really warm to them. It's welcome news that the budget is, but I don't really feel that it goes far enough. If the tax reduction on particularly fuel. I think they should have dropped fuel. That one much more.
So you want a tax-cutting strategy?
To get the country moving. I do believe that by reducing taxes, you will get people spending more. Yeah, that will get the country moving much better and more quickly.
Alan, you're a self-employed individual. I mean, you were nodding then. You want your taxes cut, do you?
I wouldn't mind the tax, say, and VAT being cut, because VAT is spent on all the things that we find essential. And yet, we're being told, well, we're going to tax that higher and higher and higher. So in the end, you can't afford to pay for the things that are in the shops. And so therefore, it will grind to a halt. There's got to be a limit where you say, enough's enough, stop taxing us on essential items.
Michael, what do you make of this?
I mean, I can only speak from my own experience, and I've been running a business now for just over 2.5 years. And me personally, I mean, it's grown and it's continued to grow. And I'm hoping that, especially with the national insurance change, as well as the drop in corporation tax, that, you know, it's going to help me hire people potentially to the back end of next year, which is something, if anyone runs a business, that's what you get into it for. It's purely and simply to give other people a career.
But I mean, I don't know whether it's this area or whether it's the whole country, but right next to you, Sue, I mean, you've got a very different story to tell, haven't you?
I have indeed, yeah. I was made redundant from Notts County Council last year, having worked for them for 20 plus years, still looking for work, still looking for like full-time work, so struggling to make ends meet.
So what do you say to Michael?
Well, I don't know. I just think we just need more opportunities, really.
Well, I think that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Completely agree with you.
And an open sort of forum to actually get back into the workplace.
I do think that these moves that have been made today, although, you know, they may seem to a lot of people as being sort of, you know, a bit of a nudge and a wink, if you like, rather than an actual serious policy. I think in reality, for people like me who are aspiring to make a business a success in the local area, those sorts of things are absolutely fundamental in removing those barriers for me as a businessman.
All right, let me come over to this table here. Claire, you're on benefits yourself. I mean, what did you make of today? Do you think a Labour government would be any better for you?
It could be, yeah. Obviously, when the bedroom tax comes in April, obviously I get my little lad's money.
You've got a spare room, have you?
Yeah, I've got a spare room.
Well, why do you need it?
Because when I moved into when we was on council property list, it was down as a 2-bed, not a 3-bed. So we went to view it, and they gave it as, because it was a free, like when we went to view it, it come up as a 3-bed. So, and then now this bedroom tax thing is coming in, a lot of families are not going to be able to afford to pay £11.65 or £12.65.
So those are your worries going
week.
forward?
Yeah.
All right, well, Michael, I mean, you run a business yourself,
yes,
don't
I
you?
do. Yes.
Do you find Labour's solutions today any more appealing than the Conservatives and Liberal Democrats?
I think I'm old enough to be cynical and say that I don't think either party is offering any real solutions. I came out with a line earlier today that I think economically we could almost be on some sort of economic Liverpool pathway. I don't know what solutions there are.
All these people are nodding, saying no one's got the answers.
Well, exactly. Nobody does have the answers. I certainly don't. I'm not an economist, but I don't know what the solutions are. Today will help a little. It will help small businesses that are just starting, because it'll enable them to employ 2 or 3 people without national insurance contributions. The tax changes are helpful. There are some helps, but a lot of it is just tokenism, I think.
All right, well, on that note, thank you all very much indeed for joining us from here in Arnold. Back to you, John.
Krishnan, thank you. And I'm now joined by the Labour Shadow Treasury Minister, Chris Leslie. Chris Leslie, rather interesting the way that ended, because it ended really as it reflected the whole discussion, which was that politically, this whole business is a no-score draw. Neither you are getting any traction, nor is the government, because people are overwhelmed by the scale of what confronts them.
Well, I think people are very depressed about the situation. I think for those who were wanting some bold action
in the budget today. Unfortunately, they haven't got it. What we've ended up with is more of the same, this approach that has seen growth stagnating. And of course, as a result, without those revenues coming into the Treasury, we've seen more borrowing, hundreds of billions of pounds more than George Osborne originally planned, which has just added more and more to the national debt.
But
we've lost our AAA as a result.
What you're describing to me is an open goal for Labour, and Labour doesn't seem to be scoring.
I think what we have to do is show that there is an alternative. And I think that means not just sort of sitting back, as George Osborne's saying, no role for government to get involved in stimulating the economy. We have to, I think, convince people that actually a Labour Treasury could have a stimulus effect on the economy. And we
by
would
borrowing more?
Well, I think if the
those figures are going up badly enough already.
But the key thing is this: if all of those extra billions that the Chancellor is borrowing were to stimulate the economy or for infrastructure investment, the public you've been talking to today might be understanding the markets might tolerate it.
Well,
but
let's
that's
take
not why
infrastructure.
he's gone for that extra borrowing. So we've said temporary VAT cut. We've also said banker bonus levy to help with a jobs programme for young people. There are alternatives. There really are choices, and the Chancellor's refusing to take them.
Let's take infrastructure. He's going to spend 3.2 billion or something like that.
Less,
about 3 billion in 2 years' time. What are you offering?
Well, we had a plan which was £12.8 billion higher of infrastructure investment. The Chancellor has cut
immediately, right now?
Infrastructure investment
Right
over
now?
the last 3 years. That's the difference in the plans that were set out at the last election, and he's gone below that. This is a Chancellor
Well,
who...
what would you be bidding today? What would you be offering? If he's offering 3 billion in 2 years' time, what would Labour be offering?
It has to be significantly more, bringing forward
What is significant?
those infrastructure projects.
What is significant?
But the key thing is, I think, stimulating the economy with a VAT cut now.
No, but I'm just asking about infrastructure because it's a good test. He's committed 3 billion in 2 years' time. What would Labour commit?
Well, I think what we have to do is bring forward projects that are in that pipeline. There are 576 projects that the Chancellor has said he wants to do. Only 19% of them, 19% have actually started. So it's the competence of the government here, not just the press releases that they're putting out, that's at test as well. And of course, there's the unfairness in terms of their millionaires' tax cut, which really sticks in people's throats.
Chris Leslie, thank you very much indeed for coming in.